Okay. Okay, I'm going to officially get started now. I hope everyone can see this okay. Since we're a relatively small group, if you got a question, just unmute your mic and ask. Okay. And if you got a question, yeah, anytime, doesn't matter. Okay. What I'm going to touch on here is what's going on this week and some things I'm doing and why I'm doing them and so on. Okay. So without further, oh, just a second here, let me trying to. Okay, trying to get a better internet connection here at school. Okay, it looks like everything's still working here. Okay. Now, what's going on this week? We'll go over to classwork. Okay, and of course my little pen thing here is in the way. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Well, either way, just ignore that circle there. Okay, what we're doing is a couple things simultaneously. And this is the way I like to do this class. I think it's more interesting and allows us to do a couple different things in a week. We're still doing Microsoft Word stuff, which I'll get back to in a moment. We're also doing digital media stuff. So last week it was video editing, and being your guys are a virtual only class, I gave you a lot of flexibility of whatever software you want to use or device. You didn't even have to necessarily use a computer. You could use a smartphone, you can use an iPad. You know, I'm pretty flexible about that. And the requirements for the project were quite simple. And even in a worst case scenario, if someone couldn't get video clips, I let people use pictures if they don't have a smartphone or anything like that. And if you do have a smartphone, it should have been pretty easy to get video clips. Matter of fact, if I had a smartphone, didn't have a good way to edit on a computer, I would just do the whole project on a smartphone because I've done that before. Okay, it's not that hard to do. So that was meant to get you into video editing and a few simple things that go along with that. This week, we're going to be focusing on audio editing, and I'll explain that more in just a moment. So this week here has an audio project. That'll be your main project for the week, kind of like last week's making the video was your main project for the week. And then we have two other assignments that go along with audio. And I'm going to go through these here, and then I'll also go over the Word ones. I'm going to do the audio first, and I'm going to come back to Word. The first assignment is about starting your own podcast. Now, this is not actually about editing. This is not, you're not opening software. You're going to a web page, and you got some questions and things to answer. Now, I don't have you cover everything here. Let me try to get I put on that annotation thing, and now it's kind of coming back to haunt me. I'm going to click on this here. I think there's an eraser or an undo. It didn't let me undo, so I'm going to erase it. There, it's gone. Okay, that's better. Okay, now it takes you to this. NPR, by the way, is National Public Radio. It's a very good resource for a lot of things, and one of the things they have there is podcasts. And this here is about a podcast. Now, I'm guessing that a lot of students either have listened to podcasts before or at least heard of them. And if any of you listened to podcasts before, you can put it in the chat if you don't want to say it out loud. Okay, I listen to podcasts. I've been listening to them for years. And there's all kinds of podcasts out there. There's ones made by just regular people. There's ones made by professionals and major organizations. And taking a look here at the chat, I don't see anyone writing about podcasts, but if there are any you've listened to, please put it in there. CNET, remember we did the CNET assignment, they have a number of podcasts. And yeah, Zach, if you think any topic or type of podcast you listen to, pop that in there too. I listened to CNET. They had several. They had one that focused on Mac computers I liked listening to. They had one about technology in general. There's another one called This Week in Technology, TWIT, T-W-I-T, I listened to. And some of the same people do another one called This Week in Mac or something along those lines, or Mac Week Breakly, Mac Break Weekly, okay? Now, since videos become big in the last 5, 10 years, a lot of these podcasts have a video version too. So you can find them not just in the normal podcast places like iTunes or Spotify, but you can also find them in YouTube and other places. And there are really big nationally known podcasts like Joe Rogan Show. Some of you may have seen that. And he just signed a $30 million contract to move his podcast over to Spotify. And that's huge. And he's become so well known that all kind of famous people go on there, and he does a talk show. So he'll get a guest. It could be anyone, an athlete, a politician, a musician, whoever. And he will interview them. And because it's a podcast, it's not like a normal TV show or radio show where you got like 30 minutes. A podcast can be any length you want it to be. And every show can be different. So if you watch a Joe Rogan show, one of them's an hour, and you go to another one and it's 2.5 hours. Same when I used to listen, I still listen sometime to the Mac Break Weekly. You know, one week it's 25 minutes because there's not a lot of Mac news, and another week it's an hour and 15 minutes because there's a lot of Mac announcements and news going on. So that's where it started with when the iPod came out. There used to be traditional radio. People would listen to the audio type programs on like talk shows and news programs and stuff. And then when the iPod came out, people started making their own radio-like programs, but they put them out there for download. So you can go in Apple, they have iTunes, they have other places you can go and get podcasts. And people would go and download them and listen to them on their iPod. That's where the name podcast came from. Then over the years, since that came out about 15 years ago, they've grown in popularity. I listen to some sometime. Many have gone to video versions too, so you can watch them on YouTube and other places. So no one listens to the Magnus Archives. Come on, folks. Well, Sophie, if you want to tell us what the Magnus Archives are. Oh, you listen to NPR, Zach. Yeah, I do too. That's where this comes from, yep. And I like CNET, and I like the This Week in Tech ones, and there's a lot of them out there. If I had time, I'll listen to a lot more. And they got ones for things like, I found ones for like learning Italian or other languages and so forth. But this assignment, back to our assignment, you can, yeah, keep putting in the chat, and we'll come back and chat and talk about that in a little bit, any that you might listen to. But back to this assignment. I don't have you do everything on here, but if there's a handout that goes with it, I have you go in some of these categories and just learn a little bit about putting a podcast together, because it's not just opening up an audio recording software and hitting record. I mean, there's obviously a lot more that goes into it to do a good job. And now for this assignment, we're mainly talking about audio. But as we do know, people do the same thing, and then they make video versions. In the case of Joe Rogan's, if you actually watch his video version, it's just him and the guest sitting in front of microphones at a desk. And that's it. And if he's got 2 guests on or whatever, it might be 3, 4 of them sitting around microphones. That's it. So it isn't like it's a big fancy talk show set. So that assignment there, hopefully it's not too hard, and it'll help you get started a little bit on what you got to do for a podcast. I'm going to jump up to this 4th one here, Intro to Audio Editing. And what this is about, it's fairly simple. You got 3 videos. There's a handout that goes with it. First video is only a minute, okay? He just talks a little bit about audio, create audio like a pro. Then there's a video here about 3 free audio editing softwares, which would be nice to know. And that's only 3 minutes. One of them is the one we use in class. Now, you guys aren't in my class here at school, so you're not going to use GarageBand unless you have it at home on a Mac. So that's one of his 3 options. Matter of fact, the hybrid classes are doing GarageBand this week in the classroom. And there is no Windows version of GarageBand. So they have other software you can get for Windows that do similar things. But in class, we're using GarageBand this week. It comes on the Mac. So this is a little video here, and there'll be something to write up here about it, about 3 of the free ones. Now there's free ones, there's paid ones. And by the way, you can, like I said, you can do these on your phone. You can do it on your iPad or whatever. So doesn't have to be just done on a regular computer. And then I got one here where a guy covers vocal microphones. Now, when you get into these topics, you have to remember, if you watch one video about one person talking about 3 microphones or 4 microphones or whatever he covers there, that's interesting and that's good and gives you a little idea what's out there. But you have to understand these topics are way more complicated. In other words, there's always a lot to learn. There's always a lot for me to learn, and I know a fair amount about these topics. So it's, I think you'll find it interesting. This is not hard at all. Okay, then when it comes to, well, before I get to the big project, I'm going to go back to Word. Okay, this first one here, here's what I did. What the Word stuff we've done so far, I ran into some problems, and the problems were simple. I was doing some tutorials on a Mac version of Word. The Windows version looks a bit different. We had another problem that a lot of the students working virtually were opening up the web-only version of Word, which doesn't have a lot of the features that the Windows version of Word has. And when I put up the drawing assignment, it really should have been named a shapes assignment because it's really about using shapes, which is on the insert menu, and you can find it easily on the Mac or the Windows version if you go to the insert menu. But I had problems of all the above. Students going to the wrong version of Word, students that, the Windows was a little bit different than maybe what I explained on the Mac. I tried to share some tutorials that helped with that, which some students may have seen and others may not. This week, I just went to the opposite type of mentality and thought, I'm not even going to bother to do the Mac version. If a few students out there got Macs, they'll easily figure it out. But the vast majority of students, including my hybrid students, because we're not doing these in class, have the school Windows computers or they have personal Windows computers. So what I did here was I went kind of back to a video that's for beginners, but it covers some skills we talked about already and some that we haven't. Okay, I have a PDF that goes with this. Okay, and if you open this up, there's a tutorial. It's about 30 minutes. Probably take you a little longer because you got to go through it and make something while you do it. But this covers all these important skills. I won't even read them all. And I also do a screenshot of the final project. So when you're done going through this tutorial, you're going to make this. You're going to know how to do a drop cap. You're going to know how to do bullets. You're going to know how to insert an image. You're going to know how to do a word art. You're going to know a bunch of things, how to, do stuff. So I did a screenshot so you can see the text there in case you can't see it good on the video. And when you're all done, you're going to submit this Word document. It's going to be one document, that's it. And you're just going to name it beginner.docx. This tutorial is not made by me. It's a professional tutorial in the Windows version of Word. So that's going to take you not a lot of time, but a little bit of time. And it's not that hard of an assignment at all. So get a good foundation in Word and some of its review. Then there's going to be another assignment where I share a couple mini tutorials, which means they're only a couple minutes each, for 3 skills that were not covered in the other tutorial. So text boxes, there's 2 minutes. How to change the page color is 1 minute. And how to add a border, that's 2 minutes. So these skills, in addition to ones covered in the other one, you're going to be using to make something like this, okay? A poster for Binder Park Zoo. You can do a Google search, find your own images. They don't have to be the same images. You're going to make some text boxes and put a border and a background color and a box here with a color in it and some text. And this here is a word art up here at the top. And you're going to find a logo for them. And you're going to make something like that. It's not hard at all. So that's what the assignment is. So we got the 2 word assignments. We got the intro to audio. Got this here, intro to audio, kind of 2 different things to learn about audio. Then your main project. Now the main project will be very, very simple in my view, but may take a little bit of learning and thinking. Okay, I give you a couple of options here. Our objective is to make an audio project and make something halfway decent. Not real long, not real complex, but something halfway decent. So many of you, unless you got musical skills or something, you're probably going to want to do a podcast. And I'm not going to read over all the directions, and I give you flexibility as what software you use. You can use your smartphone, you can use a tablet, you can use a computer. There's free software out there. There's inexpensive paid software that might be nicer. And I give you a fair amount of options. If you're going to do a podcast, put a little planning into it, rough out a script. Doesn't mean you have to be word for word what you're going to say, but at least, some topics and things. You can do it by yourself, and you do it with a friend or two. And you can do it on all different topics, maybe sports, maybe news, maybe arts. And why say a topic like sports? It doesn't have to be sports in general. It could be specific to a team or a league or a school. If you do arts, you can focus on music or a specific music genre or something along those lines. Video games, you could do it in general. You can pick a topic within the gaming world, and you can do that. Okay? And it doesn't have to be long, 1 to 2 minutes, that you know how to do it. If you do it, and then find a little piece of music or something for the opening and closing to make it sound like something you'd hear on the radio, and do the best you can. And you're going to submit a Google Doc with a little bit of information about your project that I put here. And you're going to submit the audio file or the link of where the audio can be found on the web. And if there's any questions on that, you can let me know. Now, I mainly focused here on the podcast, but if you are a little musical and you got some software and you want to record some music, that's okay too. If you want to sing a song and play guitar, or you want to play piano or whatever it may be, you may do an audio recording that's musical. And when I say 1 to 2 minutes, if you want to do longer, obviously you can do longer, but I want you at least to do that. So if you prefer to do a musical project, go for it. If you want to do the podcast, which my view is easy for pretty much everybody, you have that. So just the idea that you're going to put some thought into it, you're going to use some software, record it, and then figure out how to share it with me, how you got to export the file or upload it to a service. Now, some of you might say, what about, could this go on YouTube? Yes, but here's the catch. You can't just take an audio file and put it up on YouTube. I'm actually going to switch back over here to me, so I feel like I'm actually here. Okay. Here comes Mr. Real. Can you guys see me now? Okay. So I am here. Yep. Thanks, Tom. Okay. Now, how do you get an audio file on YouTube? You can't take audio files. Typically might be like an MP3 or an MP4A, which is an AAC file or something like that. You can't take that file and put it on YouTube directly. What you can do, if you got a little bit of know-how, you can take your, say, an MP3 file, bring it into a video editing software, import maybe something as simple as a photo or a graphic. Then you take that graphic and you spread it out the length of your song. Let's say it's 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever. Bring your audio underneath it. So when people click on YouTube, it's technically a video, but all they do is hear the audio, and then they can see like the same photo or the same graphic throughout. Okay. So, as a matter of fact, if you go to YouTube, you'll find like there's an entire album up there by somebody. And if you click on it, you just see the same graphic for the whole album, but you're listening to it. So if you want to do something like that, put it on YouTube. If you know how to do that and share the link with me, great. Now, there's another service out there a lot of music people use, and that's called SoundCloud. And if you want to set up a SoundCloud account and put your audio file, that I think could be a podcast or a music, you can share it from SoundCloud. I'm sure there's many other services out there, but you're welcome just to submit the file itself. So if it's an MP3 or whatever you export, you can submit that with a Google Doc that answers some of the information I ask about it. So it sounds like a huge project, but it really isn't. It's, in my view, it's quite simple. Even if you knew nothing about it and you had to go find software and learn how to use it and make your project, you could probably do it in 1 to 2 hours easily, okay? And that's taking your time and doing some decent quality work. So that'll be the main project for the day, and then you'll hopefully have some knowledge about the audio world. And last week was the video world, which has similarities. Okay, that's pretty much what I wanted to touch on today, the assignments and the main project. If any of you have a question, you can either unmute your mic and ask me or put it in the chat. Oh, and also, as always, as you guys probably know, you can email me, you can text me, you can call me. That phone number I gave you, I'll just show you here on my phone. It's something called Google Voice. So I got Google Voice here. Okay, it's an app, and I got it set up, and you got to pick a number, and it works quite good. I can text you and everything, and I got this number I can use, and I don't have to use my personal number for everything, but it makes it easy. So if that works for you, you know, that's okay. Keep in touch. Okay, well, good luck on your assignments this week. If you got any problems or anything, let me know. I've been catching up grading, but I'm often a little bit behind. But here's the thing. I'll just tell you guys that you guys know it for coming here. You know, when it's something to do, let's say on Sunday, and I might not get around to grade it till like next week. So far, I haven't been penalizing anybody. So if it came in on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, a day or 2 or 3 late, I don't get to it till the following week or 4 or 5 days later. I just been, if you did it and it's there when I get to it, it's all good. So try to get everything in on time. If you are running late, let me know. Let me know the reason. And, you know, we'll try to keep everyone on track. Okay, you guys have a good day. I'll be back here Thursday, same time, same place. If you got questions or anything anytime, just let me know. But other than that, have a good day. Take care.